shaking the world, changing the weather, and burning the land. But for some, lava's lure is irresistible. Instead of running, there are those who seek out close encounters with Hawaii's molten rock. These intrepid few are the lava chasers. Rising from the heart of the Pacific Ocean, Hawaii is the world's most isolated chain of islands, a far-flung paradise under siege from the forces that have shaped it. But Hawaiians have prospered here for more than 1,500 years, and today it's up to the director of Hawaii County Civil Defense, Ben Fuata, to keep the Big Island of Hawaii safe.
I'm responsible for approximately 182,000 residents of this island and anybody who comes to visit, to protect them and prepare them for any natural disaster that may occur. I worry so you don't have to.
To see the scale of this task, Ben is taking to the air. Dominating the landscape are the volcanoes that created the islands. Volcanoes that are still very much active today, and a major concern for Ben Fuata.
I constantly work with the Hawaii Volcano Observatories, and we do the modeling on some of the things that could happen.
On the southern plains of Hawaii's Big Island, eruptions from Kilauea have destroyed more than 180 homes in the area surrounding Kalapana. But thanks to the swift action of civil defense, everyone was safely evacuated, and now have even started returning.
A lot of people have taken up residency. In spite of the dangers, these are the people that we worry about and trying to get the word out in the event of a volcanic eruption.
Ben Fuata is making his way from Kalapana Gardens to the Pu'u'o'o Vent, where lava has been pouring out for the last 30 years.
As you can see, our Hawaii Volcano Observatory has instrumentation that track the movement and also expansion of this vent in order for me to alert the public.
For more than 100 years, the scientists at the Hawaiian Volcano Observatory have been trying to protect the residents of Hawaii and help the rest of the world make sense of the thousands of volcanoes that dot our planet. The observatory now sits on top of Kilauea, and although the mission is still the same, the operation is very different.
When HVO was first founded, we had one employee. Now, 100 years later, we have a staff of about 25 and pushing 150 or 200 instruments in the ground. It's a big operation. There's no handbook for this sort of thing. We still cannot predict exactly when or where the Hawaiian volcanoes will erupt. They never do the same thing twice. But we're getting better and better at that.
Despite Jim's modesty, 100 years of concentrated study means the HVO leads the world when it comes to trying to understand these unpredictable giants.
Because Hawaiian volcanoes are relatively easy to work on, a lot of techniques in the scientific study of them were developed experimentally at HVO. They were then applied all around the world. But we still have people out in the field mapping old lava flows, new lava flows, and that takes boots on the ground.
Leading the charge out on the flanks of Kilauea is Matt Patrick. He's been a constant presence on the lava flows for the last 6 years, and he knows their movements better than anyone else. But since lava cut off the roads, just getting there is no mean feat.
We're out here on the coastal plain updating our map of the lava flow field. And the way we update the map is simply to walk along the margin with our GPS, taking periodic waypoints. This is the most accurate way of measuring that flow expansion. We'll give an early indication to civil defense if we think the flow is going to be heading in a certain direction, towards residential areas. Subsequent to that, we'll be out there every day and basically communicating with Hawaii County Civil Defense, giving them updated maps and updated assessments about where we think the flows will travel over the next 24 to 48 hours.
And it's not a job for the faint-hearted. The weather out here on the lava plains can change in an instant. and there's nowhere to hide.
We're out on the coastal plain, which is just a large lava flow field, so there's no shade from trees. And so you get the heating from above, from the sun, but you also get the heating from below. So one of the most common challenges is just heat exhaustion. So like where I'm standing right now, it's kind of like opening an oven. But when you walk just a few feet closer to the flow, it gets really intense and extremely unpleasant.
This red-hot rock also creates havoc for Matt in the torrential Hawaiian downpours that are never far away.
When you get heavy rains, you basically get a whiteout, where you have really heavy rain dumping on the flow. It instantly flashes to steam, and the fog can be so thick that you can't even see your shoes. Basically, you're stuck. You can't move for 5 or 10 minutes. And luckily, the lava is moving relatively slow, but it's still kind of disconcerting when you hear lava moving around you and you don't know exactly where it is.
Today, the active flow front stretches more than 2 miles. And for Matt to find out where this lava is headed, he's going to have to spend hours only a few feet from the 2,000-degree molten rock. 14 miles away, back at the summit crater, HVO scientist Jeff Sutton is preparing for another critical mission.
Kilauea is definitely a very, very active volcano. You can see that big billowing plume coming out of the ground, and I study the gases.
Jeff is a geochemist, and over the last 20 years, he's made some startling discoveries.
Kilauea, taken by itself, is basically the largest stationary source of sulfur dioxide in the nation, head and shoulders above any other dirty power plant or factory. The plume that's coming out of the vent right now is comprised primarily of water vapor, but there's also sulfur dioxide, carbon dioxide, hydrogen chloride, basically hydrochloric acid gas.
This huge plume isn't just a draw for tourists. For Jeff, it's a chance to look into the guts of the volcano, like a doctor studying a patient.
When magma comes up, there are gases that are trapped in it. And as the magma gets closer to the surface, those gases can actually bubble out. You could kind of think about a big gas bubble coming out of this patient being analogous to, say, a burp. And we're actually able to measure not only the chemical nature of that burp, but also how much burp there is. By analyzing that burst of gas, we know what was going on down inside the volcano at that point.
But unlike most patients, this one is extremely toxic and very unpredictable. And with around 1,000 tons of sulfur dioxide pouring out of the volcano every day, he had to find a whole new way to study it.
This is our gas mobile, and we use this vehicle with instrumentation installed on it and in it to measure the gases that are escaping from the magma. We drive this instrument underneath and through the gas plume, measuring the amount of sulfur dioxide above us.
And since the Hawaiian Volcano Observatory doesn't have any robotic cars yet, Jeff is going to have to go in there too.
The sulfur dioxide that's coming out of the volcano is immediately dangerous to life and health.
Coming up on Lava Chasers, Jeff goes into the heart of the plume in search of answers.
It's time to put our gas masks on.
But up next, Matt Patrick puts his technology to the test. On the big island of Hawaii, more than 1 million people will visit every year, eager for their own close encounter with the lava. But for the geologists at the Hawaiian Volcano Observatory, searching for molten rock is just another day at the office.
You can use satellite imagery, and we do actually, but there's really no replacement for boots on the ground. You really need somebody on the ground to look at the flow, locate where those breakouts are, make a geologist's estimate of what the activity levels are. Over the last couple weeks, this particular flow has been relatively slow. It's moving, well, between 40 meters a day to maybe 100 meters a day. We've seen rates up to 400 meters a day for this type of lava.
But even Matt can't be here 24/7. So the Hawaiian Volcano Observatory have made sure there are eyes on the volcano at all times.
We have about 14 webcams out now, and plus a handful of time-lapse cameras. Right now, we have flows that are frequently shifting their position out on the coastal plain near the ocean, and so we need to be able to respond to that. Since I've been here, we've lost a few cameras. 2 of them were lost due to collapses. A couple weeks ago, we had a camera out on the flow field that got surrounded by lava. And we were able to actually see in the incoming images the lava come and approach the camera and surround it.
But before they go, these webcams have sent back some stunning images.
During my time here, one of the more memorable moments was the 2011 Kamoa eruption. It was really a spectacular fissure eruption. They were fountains that were casting spatter up to 20, 30 meters height. When you're standing there, you can feel kind of the rumble in the ground and the slapping and pounding of spatter. It was really spectacular.
But finding out what's going on inside the volcano needs a radically different approach. Back at the summit of Kilauea, geochemist Jeff Sutton is driving straight into the plume of toxic gas to find out just what's pouring out. A vital piece of information to try and predict the volcano's next move.
Hey, we're starting to register sulfur dioxide gas on the spectrometer, and so I'm going to be putting my gas mask on now.
In severe cases, sulfur dioxide can cause pulmonary edema, a life-threatening accumulation of fluid in the lungs. Although rare, death can result in minutes.
Air outside the vehicle has become pretty dense. It's pretty hard to see through this.
We'll be driving in clean air, clean air, clean air, and then all of a sudden it's like hitting a fog bank. Sometimes you actually have a difficult time seeing where the road is, and then you burst out of the other side and all of a sudden it's clear again. We got some good data today. The plume was dense. It was kind of coming down to the ground. My guess is there was probably 500 or 600 or 700 metric tons of sulfur dioxide.
Keeping track of this data is vital to predicting Kilauea's next move. And until those levels drop, the tourists are going to have to be kept at a safe distance. Coming up on Lava Chasers, Civil Defense turns its attention to another Hawaiian volcano.
The 800-pound gorilla on the island of Hawaii is really Mauna Loa.
The islands of Hawaii are built by the volcanoes at their hearts. And while the recent lava flows from Kilauea have been disastrous for communities in their paths, the real concern is for its bigger brother, Mauna Loa. This is the world's largest volcano.
The 800-pound gorilla for volcanic hazards on the island of Hawaii is really Mauna Loa.
Frank Truesdale has been studying Mauna Loa for more than 20 years.
In 1984, the eruption on Mauna Loa produced in 20 minutes what Kilauea produces in an entire day. In order to understand how volcanoes are going to erupt into the future is that you need to look at the past. If you're on the flanks of Mauna Loa, no place is safe just because you're on the flanks of the volcano. We look at the last 170 years, Mauna Loa has erupted 33 times, so an average of one eruption every 5 years. Eruptions from Mauna Loa typically start with a fissure, a long extended crack, and then the lava will make a continuous curtain of fire across the summit. Lava flows have a tendency to reach the ocean in a matter of hours. Not days, hours.
While a huge eruption at Mauna Loa remains a serious threat, across Hawaii, the islanders have to deal with another volcanic problem on a daily basis: acidic volcanic fogs. At the 300,000-acre Hawaii Volcanoes National Park, wildlife biologist John Fafford has more than 140 miles of fence under attack by this fog.
Well, my role here in the park is to make sure that our fences are up to par to keep the pigs out of the area.
When the protective fence disintegrates, feral pigs move into the native jungle. Once there, the pigs uproot plants and wreak havoc on the fragile habitats.
It's an ongoing battle.
Today, he's checking a 2-mile section north of the volcano.
I inspected the fence and it does look really deteriorated. I think we should schedule a flight to get all the fence material out here as soon as possible.
The acidic fog produced by the volcano is destroying the park's fences. And getting replacement materials out to this impenetrable rainforest is going to take extreme measures. John needs air support. But the unpredictable Hawaiian weather could bring the whole operation to a halt. The east coast of the Big Island has the highest rainfall in the USA. Combine that with low cloud cover, a steaming rainforest, and strong winter trade winds, and you've got nightmarish flying conditions.
Copy.
But seasoned pilot David Akita makes it look only too easy.
We have an excellent pilot. He's able to drop any material that we need at the exact location.
And with the materials in position, the fencing team can jump into action.
This area that we're in right now is exposed, but not severely exposed to the fog. So we're hoping that it will last at least 30 years.
Coming up on Lava Chasers, Mauna Loa starts showing some alarming signs.
We've had indications that Mauna Loa was swelling.
The islands of Hawaii are built by the volcanoes at their hearts. And while the recent lava flows from Kilauea have been disastrous for communities in their paths, the real concern is for its bigger brother, Mauna Loa. This is the world's largest volcano.
The 800-pound gorilla for volcanic hazards on the island of Hawaii is really Mauna Loa.
Frank Truesdale has been studying Mauna Loa for more than 20 years.
In 1984, the eruption on Mauna Loa produced in 20 minutes what Kilauea produces in an entire day. In order to understand how volcanoes are going to erupt into the future is that you need to look at the past.
If you're on the flanks of Mauna Loa, no place is safe just because you're on the flanks of the volcano.
We look at the last 170 years, Mauna Loa has erupted 33 times, so an average of one eruption every 5 years. Eruptions from Mauna Loa typically start with a fissure, a long extended crack, and then the lava will make a continuous curtain of fire across the summit. Lava flows have a tendency to reach the ocean in a matter of hours. Not days, hours.
While a huge eruption at Mauna Loa remains a serious threat, across Hawaii, the islanders have to deal with another volcanic problem on a daily basis: acidic volcanic fogs. At the 300,000-acre Hawaii Volcanoes National Park, wildlife biologist John Fafford has more than 140 miles of fence under attack by this fog.
Well, my role here in the park is to make sure that our fences are up to par to keep the pigs out of the area.
When the protective fence disintegrates, feral pigs move into the native jungle. Once there, the pigs uproot plants and wreak havoc on the fragile habitats.
It's an ongoing battle.
Today, he's checking a 2-mile section north of the volcano.
I inspected the fence and it does look really deteriorated. I think we should schedule a flight to get all the fence material out here as soon as possible.
The acidic fog produced by the volcano is destroying the park's fences. And getting replacement materials out to this impenetrable rainforest is going to take extreme measures. John needs air support. unpredictable Hawaiian weather could bring the whole operation to a halt. The east coast of the Big Island has the highest rainfall in the USA. Combine that with low cloud cover, a steaming rainforest, and strong winter trade winds, and you've got nightmarish flying conditions.
Copy.
But seasoned pilot David Akita makes it look only too easy.
We have an excellent pilot. He's able to drop any material that we need at the exact location.
And with the materials in position, the fencing team can jump into action.
This area that we're in right now is exposed, but not severely exposed to the valve. So we're hoping that it will last at least 30 years.
Coming up on Lava Chasers, Mauna Loa starts showing some alarming signs.
We've had indications that Mauna Loa was swelling.
Silver suit will help to block the intense heat radiating from the lava.
They're also going to need someone right behind them to hold them on their pants to keep them from falling over. The ground is so uneven out here that it would be very easy just to trip and fall, and if you do that next to the lava flows, the consequences can be pretty severe. And you'll be holding on to the back of his pants to make sure he doesn't topple over into the lava.
Right.
And you don't want to be crowding these two guys.
Right.
Because if they have to get out of there, they have to get out of there, right? So give them space.
Approaching the front wall of the lava flow is like opening a furnace door. Even a couple of feet away, the radiant heat in the air is still strong enough to burn skin. It's vital to cover any exposed flesh. The scorching heat of lava is not the only peril faced on the slopes of a volcano. Lava releases toxic gases, especially when it mixes with seawater. These billowing clouds of steam can contain deadly sulfuric and hydrochloric acids. In November 2000, a man and woman were killed by a volcanic cloud of gas while observing a sea entry lava flow in Hawaii Volcanoes National Park. An autopsy proved that corrosive hydrochloric acid had penetrated their lungs. Also, the cliff shelf where lava flows into the sea can be extremely unstable, as this massive collapse caught on a webcam reveals. In the last 12 years, half a dozen people have died at the coastal entries. Despite these risks, the rangers at Hawaii Volcanoes National Park are determined to allow visitors to experience the beauty of the erupting Kilauea.
The park was established to provide safe access to lava viewing. So people do want to come and see the lava. At the same time, we have to balance that with their safety. There are people who are lava junkies, and you can't keep them out. The eruption rangers are a group of people that we hire specifically to deal with safety issues when we have and where we have an active eruption.
Part of our job is to monitor SO2 levels in areas that are heavily trafficked by the general public.
SO2, or sulfur dioxide, turns to sulfuric acid when mixed with water droplets in the atmosphere. It's one of the nastiest ingredients of fog, a volcanic fog created by Kilauea's erupting gases. Fog can spread for miles, causing irritation to the eyes and skin, and for some people, serious breathing problems. One of the key factors that create fog is the weather. Most of the time, trade winds carry the fog from Kilauea harmlessly out to sea. But when they change direction, the so-called Kona winds can blow the fog towards the towns on the east of the island, and in particular, across the busy areas of the park. When the park detects high levels of SO2 in the atmosphere, it's time to act.
We can make the appropriate decisions about whether we need to move people to a different site, whether we need to close an area for a short period of time.
The park authorities must strike a delicate balance. Allow visitors as much access as possible, while at the same time, protect them from the ravages of an active volcano.
It is a challenge. It's a balance.
Coming up next on Lava Chasers, Kimmy prepares to free dive near the lava.
I definitely felt nervous. I could feel the heat from the lava.
But up next, the intrepid students approach the lava's edge.
Let go of the thing.
But there's a hitch when it comes to working in the bulky heat suit.
You see very little of your surroundings. Your peripheral vision and your vision downward are just terrible.
The students have to insert a thermocouple thermometer into the molten lava below the crusted surface.
Let go of the thing. 1,135.
It's steady at 1,139.
That's 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit, nearly hot enough to melt steel.
Are you getting hot there, Brian?
A little bit. Yeah, it's kind of like somebody ironing your clothes while you're wearing them.
Kind of penetrates between the sleeves and the gloves, so that was where I was getting the hottest. It's actually pretty intense there for a moment.
Sample gathering puts them further into the firing line. Even thick gloves offer little protection against the searing heat.
I feel it like it burning me. And once I get it off my hand, it started to get red. And now it's like that. So
they've now been working for a couple of hours. The combination of lava and hot sun means that the air temperature has been steadily rising.
So this is where we want to drink constantly?
Unfortunately, Ken's advice has come too late for one student who has already started to feel faint, the effects of heat exhaustion and dehydration.
The heat situation is something that I pay a lot of attention to, and if they go too far, they lose their mobility, you can pass out, and it gets life-threatening.
Just a mile to the east, Hawaiian spearfisher Kimmy Werner is approaching a sea entry lava flow in her small kayak.
I kept what I felt was a safe distance where a wave wouldn't be able to pick me up and slam me into the hot lava or the sharp rocks. I definitely felt nervous, and as I came closer, I could feel the heat from the lava.
On land, the lava destroys everything in its path. But in the ocean, it's a different story. Lava releases important nutrients into the water, allowing marine life to thrive around it. In fact, the building blocks of all life on this planet may owe their very existence to marine volcanic activity. Undeterred by the nearby lava, Kimmy prepares to dive and hunt.
I think this looks like a great spot, and I think it's a good idea to get in and give it a try. When I first entered the water, I spent time on the surface scouting, but I'm not just scouting, I'm also changing my breath.
Kimmy is a free diver. She pushes her body to the limit, descending to depths of 60 or 70 feet for minutes at a time, with just one gulp of air in her lungs.
I just try and become part of the landscape.
Kimmy uses animal instincts to fish, crawling almost cat-like along the seabed.
I just laid low. I started scratching on the rocks to kind of imitate like a parrotfish feeding, and that got their interest, and they started to come in, and I waited until I saw the one that I wanted, and I took that shot.
Coming up next on Lava Chasers, down on the volcanic reef, Kimmy gathers her prey. And heat takes its toll on both students and equipment.
Whoa! You lost the thermocouple.
Did you know your eyes can lose
As lava falls from the cliffs above, spearfisher Kimmy Werner has made her first strike on the rich volcanic reefs of Hawaii's Big Island. She's been targeting her favorite fish.
The first fish I shot today is called an enenui, and it's a fish that I grew up eating. The second fish I shot is a goatfish, one of my favorite fish to eat.
Kimmy's skills with fish extend to the kitchen.
The ananui, I would like to serve it raw, but mix it in with some chili oil and sesame oil and make a nice poke out of it. Poke is a Hawaiian term for just cut up raw fish. The goat fish, I'd like to steam them with some ginger and some fresh local herbs, and then pour some sizzling hot peanut oil on it to just infuse it all with some soy sauce. It's one of my favorites. But when you're able to harvest your own food and share it with those in your community, that's a really good way to live.
Like the flow of lava and waves around her, Kimmy moves to the rhythm of nature.
Some days the currents are ripping, some days you have waves, some days you have sharks, and some days like today you have lava.
A mile to the west of where Kimmy is fishing, the students from Hawaii University are working at the lava's edge. One student has been overcome by the effects of heat and dehydration. Luckily, Professor Ken Han has spotted the problem before it gets any worse.
It's pretty typical that in a group this big that you're going to have at least one person that starts suffering the effects of the heat. But it is something that I worry about, and so I want to catch it all the time in early stages, and I don't want it to get any more serious than slight amounts of heat exhaustion. Because the next stage is really serious.
It's not just the students themselves who are suffering. Their scientific equipment is also no match for the brutal and destructive heat of the volcano.
Whoa. That's weird. We lost the thermocouple.
We're not sure how much the thermocouples cost, but I'm sure they're not cheap.
We've already ruined our thermocouple twice, and we've only used it 3 times. So we're at about a 2/3 ruin our equipment rate right now.
You wear things out a lot faster with students.
For rookie lava student Blake, it has been an amazing first-time experience.
Here, we can look and we can watch exactly what happens step by step and record it in real life, only in Hawaii.
Despite some setbacks, the field trip has been a success. These eager students are one step closer to unlocking the secrets of this volcano. One day, their new skill and knowledge could save lives.